So, last one. So favorite Strobeck.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because Cherry is sort of that like fresh voice, chaotic statement that didn't go completely under the radar, but like wasn't as celebrated in the moment, or because I just think like where we were with social media was like slightly different, right? Where, I don't remember that there were like cherry billboards around LA, but I know there were blessed billboards around LA, And so,
Also, Supreme's first video. I
yeah,
think probably maybe the skate community was
yeah. But everyone who
apprehensive, and
was,
then
I mean, I remember Mikey talking about it, like, that's where it's at. That's where it's at, dude. Those parts are sick. There's no parts. It's.
yeah, it was red,
But
black and white.
yeah, just I think like I love Bill even before I ever met him in person. Like I love his spirit. I love his essence, and now we finally have spent a little bit of time together. I invited him over to watch raw footage, and I send him stuff when I see things that I think he'd be inspired by that I filmed in my library a long time ago that remind me of him. He films the people on the street the way I
Mm-hmm.
did. He reminds me a lot of Mike Ternasky in the way that he like champions kids, and he really like looks at everyone for who they are. And I think that is really, that's kind of core to what makes skateboarding great. Is I think at its core, if it's skateboarding's right, you're sort of like, you just are celebrated for who you are. And like with skateboarding, who you are can appeal to so many different people, from your aesthetics to your style to all those things. And I feel like as a storyteller, of someone who captures the culture of skateboarding, he puts people in these videos that other people would be like, there's no business giving that guy a part. And then he gives them a part, and everyone goes, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden, you see people fucking slapping into a wall ride, or, doing some weird, crazy off terrain down a dirt thing. And I think of Aiden and,
Mm-hmm.
and those things and those skaters, and people kind of being celebrated for being different, which is core to skateboarding. And even though Mike Ternasky is like looked at on a plan B level, he was like a real equal opportunity employer. Like he really celebrated who you were, and he saw you, and then tried to do whatever he could to put you in a position to be successful. And I just think of Tyshawn and Dylan in that clip, and it's like what more needs to be said about the guy that was holding that camera to get that clip? Like that's the real deal, is
Mm-hmm.
that filmers are holding the camera. Sometimes they're instigating the moment to happen. And it's not that they deserve credit for it, but they should be given credit for capturing the culture, and putting, allowing the meaning to be absorbed more clearly. And I feel the meaning of the skating in Bill's work on a profound level.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to knowing like where to point and when to turn on the camera. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want to I don't want to blow myself up too much, but I was the only
Oh,
person that
yeah.
filmed that
The Ollie
impossible that
Impossible. Yeah.
Dylan did. And he did one and missed it. And
Yep.
I had my little Canon camera in my
Yeah.
pocket. I was like, holy shit, turning it on. And
Yeah.
there's not more to the beginning of that clip than what there is. Like I
Yeah.
just got the camera on
Yeah. Yeah.
it. It's not edited.
It's
But
beautiful.
Bill's probably my favorite for like two reasons. To build on what you were saying before, he's got an interesting. He sees
Hmm.
things in
Hmm.
people, and
Hmm.
he sees how maybe the world will react to them.
Hmm.
But he's also tastemaker enough to make them, like he's got
Yeah.
himself in Supreme, for example, or Violet, to where those things are so influential that it helps blow that
Yeah.
person up. And
And
he
it's
and he
innate to him.
yeah,
Like he's not trying in the way that people think of
he's not
trying.
talent scouting. I don't. Yeah, I
No.
don't.
he's emotionally responding to the human and to the skater. And if he feels that spark, he's all in.
Yeah, because like the just for an example, like the focus he put on Ben,
Hmm.
like Ben might have been overlooked in that era of like
100.
how he dressed, how he looked, like whatever, and he fits in that context. But I
Yeah.
also, to me, Bill captures, I'm from Jersey, like right outside of New York City, and like nobody captures the feeling of skateboarding in New York,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even skateboarding on the streets, like just being out in the streets to me than Bill,
Yeah. I we're aligned on this front, and there was that recent video that he put out just with that China trip, and you know
Piggy,
yeah,
was it? With
yeah,
a Public
Piggy,
Enemy song. I
yeah, yeah,
couldn't believe
but
no one used
but
that song when it started.
the first skate video I ever made for my friends, in 1990, there was a Public Enemy song at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it. Like that was what I used for the opener. And so,
That same song or
not
no?
that same song. I had the, power to the people, power to the people, power to the people, power to the
Hmm.
people, y'all. Like that was my opening track, and it was a montage of all the Palo Alto skaters, and Terminus. It was
Yeah, yeah.
great. So I messaged him like, fuck, dude. Like I when I see those things, I fall deeper in love with him because I'm like, we are connected in a way through this, continuum of filmers.
I
Um,
couldn't believe no one had. It was one of those songs where I was like, how did nobody use this
yeah,
before? It's
yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, but
Like,
it's
here's
also
the other thing.
exposure. It's like it's our generation. Like we heard those songs because we listened to that stuff. It's like a kid today, they're not going deep in the Public Enemy catalog. Like fucking Fear of a Black Planet. That album is insane.
Yeah.
Like there's like almost every track is a freaking banger on that album. I
Mm-hmm.
listened to it
That's the one I listened
recently,
to the most.
and then when it
Who
was
Stole the
was
Soul?
it 91 or whatever? Like it was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. But anyway, when I was watching Piggy, I was like, there was a way that he was like, he finds things, but then he'll be like really close to someone doing something stupid. And that's all my raw footage before I started to really ramp up for Plan B. Like I would just point it at everything, I would just film it, and it would just feel so. I get really excited when I watch modern skate videos that feel like you're in the session. And
Mm-hmm.
he just has an instinct of knowing how to double up the edits, how to tease something the right way, so you feel the session. And again, to the Tyshawn kickflip, where I mean, I don't know if there was a conversation about it that was that big, but people were like, why that angle? It's like when you see the the normal angle, that's the typical angle, you're like, eh.
Yeah.
But when you see that close up from behind, and you're like, oh, it just you felt something. And this goes back to what I was saying about great videos. It's like if you're chasing that feeling, the video is going to be more timeless, you know?
Yeah. And I also found it interesting that you've sort of called out Bill and Ty as your favorites, and they're also easily the most criticized skate
Yeah. Yeah.
filmer directors.
I mean, Greg is in there for sure. Um,
As a
but
favorite.
he, but he's making shorter films now, which I still feel tremendously. But both those guys are criticized because everyone bit what they were doing, and so they had some formulaic thing because they have a process and they have a voice. So like, it's really easy to be reductive of Scorsese. You know, the Hughes brothers did it with their early work to great success. Menace to Society, is taking a lot, from Goodfellas and from Scorsese, like in a great way. So, but then you go, oh, well, Scorsese's doing this and he's so gimmicky with his camera, and it's like, but it works, and you feel it, and it translates a thing, and then over the long tail of a career, if you really pay attention to that, and you stumble across a movie like Silence, where it's literally a refutation of everything he's done prior. You see the artistry of it. So I think that those guys are really committed, and in some instances, particularly with Ty, people who don't skate understand his videos really easily and feel them really easily, and that's not a bad thing, that he has the ability to communicate to a broader audience. And then I just think with Bill, people, he's been so mimicked, and people are just mimicking him. They're not doing it because of what he shows. I imagine he shows up to the session, he starts filming, and he's just filming what he's interested in. Whereas the other people show up to a session, they're filming the way Bill films,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when
Yeah.
Scorsese does that zoom in and that move over, what he's trying to create a rhythm. So if someone just uses the move in and they don't have rhythm of shots around it, it sticks out in a sequence. But when he saw that scene, he was like, "Oh no, we need to come in like this and like that." And then when someone does the cocaine snort and they're pulling in, it's like, "Oh, it worked because it was designed, with a moment." So I don't know. It just goes into intent and how people end up, applying that. And the same way with film storytelling, with skateboard storytelling. If it's motivated by a feeling, it's going to communicate something. And I think making great work is about communicating a feeling.
I I like that Bill is resourced enough to be able to use good music. Like
Hell
that's
yeah.
that's such a privilege, for him,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. And but like if you were to ask me today, like if you were to ask me today to show a video to somebody, like what is skateboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't skate, I would probably show them Blessed, like
Mm-hmm.
at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
Maybe the clothes are a little weirder than some people prefer or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
to me that's it.
I totally agree. There's something for everybody in that video.